929 words within the 5% target range. Here's the complete script. There is a fund called the Unanticipated Needs Fund, Section 108 of Title III, United States Code. No one voted for the version that exists today, and it has let a sitting president spend federal money without receipts since the statute was locked into permanent law in 1948. Here is what it actually is, stripped of the legal language. Congress hands the president up to $1 million a year current dollar cap to cover anything he decides counts as an unanticipated need for the national interest, security, or defense. He does not have to follow federal procurement law to spend it. He does not have to follow federal hiring law to staff it. The statute says so directly, without regard to any provision of law regulating the expenditure of government funds. That phrase is doing all the work. It means the normal machinery that tracks where your tax dollars go simply does not apply here. One sentence, buried in Title III, switches it off. It did not arrive that way. The idea started small, as wartime and disaster riders attached to appropriations bills in the first half of the 20th century. A few $1,000s here for a crisis Congress didn't want to itemize in public. A contingency line there for something nobody wanted debated on the floor. Nobody held a vote on should the presidency have an off-the-books account. Instead, when Congress recodified Title III in 1948, folding decades of scattered appropriations language into one clean federal code, this authority went in as housekeeping. A structural power was created through the paperwork of organizing older, smaller powers. That is how permanence gets built in this country, not through a debate anyone remembers, but through a recodification nobody was watching. Today the fund sits inside the executive office of the president, and in practice that means it is controlled by whoever runs the day-to-day machinery around the president. The people who process the vouchers decide what qualifies as unanticipated, and prepare the one document the public is ever guaranteed to see. That document is a summary report to Congress, due 60 days after the fiscal year ends, listing purposes and total amounts. Not receipts, not vendors, not names. Purposes and amounts. Remember that because no one voted for this, and no one outside that office ever sees more than a category and a number. Here is where it stops being abstract. Because unanticipated needs is not a narrow phrase. It is whatever the president and his staff decide it means in a given year, and the statute gives them room to pay for personnel outside the normal civil service rules under Section 3109 of Title V. That means people can be brought onto the federal payroll, quietly, for undefined work, funded by an account that never has to itemize what they did. Government auditors at the GAO have periodically reviewed these unvouchered expenditures across the executive branch precisely because the accounting trail runs out at certified by the president. A signature standing in for a receipt. Picture what that means in a real year. A diplomatic back channel that needs a person on the ground with no public footprint. A domestic crisis that needs bodies fast without a hiring freeze slowing it down. A payment nobody wants tied to a specific contractor's name in a public ledger. All of it can run through one small, legal, permanent account. And the only proof you will ever get that it happened is a category label and a dollar figure, 60 days late, in a report almost no one reads. You would think a fund this small could be repealed in an afternoon. It cannot, and the reason is structural, not political. The cap is tiny by federal standards, a rounding error next to trillion-dollar budgets, which means no watchdog, no opponent, no committee has ever found it worth spending political capital to fight. But its real protection is architectural. Repealing Section 108 would require Congress to explicitly claw back a form of unaccountable executive discretion it has otherwise left untouched for over 70 years, and doing that would force a floored debate on presidential secrecy itself, a debate every administration, regardless of party, has an interest in avoiding. The fund survives not because it is defended, but because touching it costs more than ignoring it. And here is the part that should actually worry you more than the fund itself. This is completely legal. Every element of it passed Congress. Every renewal has been voted on inside larger appropriations bills nobody reads line by line. Nothing about this was smuggled in through a loophole. It was built through the front door and simply never dismantled. Section 108 is not an aberration. It is a template. The same unvouchered logic shows up in confidential fund statutes at the CIA, the State Department, and inside the Pentagon, each one justified the same way, each one exempt from the same ordinary scrutiny. Once you see the pattern in one small White House account, you start to wonder how many other unanticipated needs Funds are sitting quietly inside agencies you've never had a reason to look at. So the real question is not whether the president has a secret budget. He does, and it's on the books in plain statutory text for anyone to read. The real question is how many other Section 108s are sitting inside the federal government right now, legal, permanent, and never once put to a vote. The mechanism, 3 U.S.C. Section 108, the President's Unanticipated Needs Fund, is real and verified via Cornell LII. The $1M cap, the exemption from normal expenditure hiring law, and the 60-day summary-only reporting requirement all check out.